Hi, Adam Gregorich with Home Theater Forum. I'm here with Chris Armbrust, who's with THX. He's going to tell us about their new Media Director product.
Great. Okay. So, Media Director product, Media Director technology, what we're doing with it is helping convey the artistic intention from content creation through the end playback devices. And we do that by embedding metadata into the content stream at content creation time in a way that the playback devices can retrieve that metadata and know the best, because they know the content that's coming at them, know the best mode to set themselves up so that you don't have to go through and find the right remote with the right menu and the right setting and whatever they decided to call it.
Great. And we're going to see this on the new Star Wars Blu-rays. This is going to be the first content with that Media Director flag on it.
Yes.
And so walk us through kind of, for this to work, we need to have a Media Director enabled Blu-ray player, AVR, and display, which you've got prototypes of those here. So do you mind kind of walking us through what happens when we put that Media Director content in our player? So this is obviously not something that the consumer would see, but just maybe while we're here, what are some of the things we're looking at here?
Okay. So one of the diagnostic modes that the Blu-ray player has is a list of all of the content descriptors, as we call them, or as we call the metadata, and their values. And so everything from video content descriptors, audio content descriptors. We have things like video content type. In this case, it's a movie. We tell where the edges of this picture are, the active picture, so 1920 by 1080. And then if there's bar data on the picture, where that bar data is at.
So for bar data, you mean like letterboxing?
Letterboxing,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, in the example we've got over here, where we've got a letterboxed piece of content, we've got the gamma, white point, video range, the cadence, jumping back up to frame rate, where we can tell the display that the original frame rate of this content was 2398.
I also see some audio settings on there as well, even.
Yes. Yes, so we can say, what is the type of, what is the audio content type, the audio content subtype. In the subtypes, for example, if you had music, we have a number of different types of genre of music. So what that would allow your AVR to do is go in and select off the appropriate EQ table for your hip-hop collection.
Got it. So these are all things that Media Director can keep track of, but they may or may not be set. The flags may or may not be set depending upon the content.
Depending on the content, and again, what we're doing is we're taking that original content creator's original intent, and taking that original intent and giving that to the devices so that they know. So if it's important to the content creator, then they can communicate that to the end playback devices. We have, for example, this video processing flags. We have one of them is general noise. What we've got here is in general noise with a value of 1, and what that means is this content is really good. Don't do any additional video noise processing on it. If this value was 0, it would say, okay, display, if you have a great noise reduction filter that you want to use, go for it.
Well, I also see that we have film grain on there as a setting. That's something that's important to our members because they don't like it when studios or devices give it that video mode.
Right. Well, and as a consumer, if you've gone in and said, okay, how do I turn off the film grain processing in my display? Which menu is it in? What did they really call it? And I turned it off now because I wanted to watch Star Wars, but now I'm playing a video game, and the video game actually looks better without that on. How do I find it so that I can turn that off?
Got it. Or if you were playing a video game, this will make sure that the flag is set, that it's going to go ahead and make sure that it restores a mode that's going to give you that artistic intent and the film grain that's on there.
Right.
I think that's important too, the fact that you mentioned that it was what the original content creator wanted. So these aren't arbitrarily being set by someone down the line. If this was important to the originator of the content, this is what we're going to honor their wishes all through the playback chain.
Right. Right. And in fact, some of the values that we've set here, you'll notice that both for Star Wars, both the general noise is set to, don't process this in the display, and the film grain is don't take the film grain out. This general noise we've been using as an example in Star Wars. Some of the stars might look like noise to a video noise reduction filter, and if you take and process that. And here we've said don't process it, but if you have a display that you are processing your video noise, you're using this great filter, you can take the stars out of Star Wars.
Interesting. Okay, so it's just a matter of honoring the intent of the original content creator is the main goal of Media Director, to make sure that all down the chain of devices that we're keeping that original intent.
Yeah, I mean, this is where, I mean, every producer, director, editor that we talk to, one of the big frustrations is they go to a lot of work to get the content just right. Then they watch it, at a friend's house, and they're going, well, your settings aren't right. And what this is doing is it's like having that producer, director, editor come along with the content and help your devices get set up right.
Interesting. Good analogy. So in the instance of Star Wars, you've put it in the Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
The Blu-ray player, because your AVR here is passing that data through the display is able to set the appropriate settings. Now I noticed that some of the audio settings are set at 0.
Yes.
Does that mean that the actual AVR has read that data and is, since it's via HDMI, is essentially stripping that out, so the display is being told, in a sense, do nothing with the audio, it's being handled here?
Yeah. In this case, these flags are being read off the disc, and the original content creator, Lucasfilm, said, look, we don't want these indicated. We don't want any processing to be done by the AVR.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. If they had wanted to do that, this is how they could have done that.
Got it. Now, obviously, we talked about Star Wars is the first content with that flag. Is this going to be something that's confined just to Blu-ray, or are we going to see this with other content types?
No, it's going to be with. We are starting with Blu-ray, but we also have the over-the-top services. The first over-the-top service we have is those storefronts that are powered by the Roxio Now engine. Okay, are now powered by Rovi. So your Cinema Now, Alpha Line, Blockbuster, the storefront behind that is Roxio Now. All of the content in that library is Media Director enabled.
Wow, okay, and will that even expand beyond that and Blu-ray into maybe even broadcast someday or other video sources?
Yeah, I mean, and in fact, that's why we're showing off some of the stills, is you could imagine a camera that had Media Director on it where it could convey that to your display so that you're not trying to figure out, okay, which is the level of zoom and what color profile do I tell my display, and how do I tell my display so that the pictures that I took actually look right when I put them on my beautiful big screen display.
So we don't even have to look at a quote-unquote professional content creator. When I take a picture with a Media Director enabled camera, me as the content creator, those settings are passed on to the display device so it can do the right cropping to make sure that the picture looks right when it gets put on the display.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's our roadmap, is making it so that you get that that content creator's intention, getting it all the way through.
And so you're starting with the content now, obviously, because we'll have the content for years to come. What's the time frame for getting other Media Director-enabled devices into the marketplace?
Okay. This year has been, so 2011 has been about building our infrastructure and getting all the pieces together. So that's why you get to see this fancy plastic-covered...
I have that same model at home. Yeah.
But this is, and we've worked with Analog Devices, and this is one of their prototypes for doing an AVR. We have been working with Silicon Image, another chipset manufacturer. They're responsible for the majority of the transmitter and receiver chips that are used. So their chips are used in here. Another player is Sigma Designs, which is used actually in both of these boxes here. And that's the ones that we can talk about today. By CES, we'll have a larger list of chipset manufacturers So we're going through each one of those and making sure that they have the ability to support Media Director. That then, those chips can be used by the chipset by the CE manufacturers to integrate Media Director into their devices. You'll start to see devices appear on the market in 2012 that will be Media Director enabled.
I think it's important to note too that a lot of the CE manufacturers OEM products from those chipset manufacturers. So even if OEM manufacturer opts not to enable THX Media Director, it still should be able to pass through. If the OEM has that chipset, still should be able to pass through to other devices that could. So maybe your AVR won't, and your display will. The display will still get that information if your OEM AVR has that chipset.
Yeah, and Media Director, the way we're using HDMI is part of the specification, and so it's something that all of the chips will be able to support in time, from at least a transmitter receiver. For the system on a chip, video multimedia processors, video and audio processors, we're working with those to include Media Director functionality in their devices, so it's easier for the end brands to include that capability in their consumer products.
That's a good point. In the sample setup you have here, everything is just hooked up like you would in your home with HDMI. HDMI from the Blu-ray player to the receiver, from the receiver to the display, and your Media Director is just being carried over that HDMI cable.
Yeah.
Can you give us maybe one more example of how Media Director can make it easier for the customer to get the absolute best picture and sound with minimal involvement?
Okay. So here we have an example of a slideshow which is an example of varying different types of content. And what Media Director is able to do is tell the display what the content is, and the display is then able to, in this case, automatically scale to the right size without clipping or distorting the image.
So in this instance, this is just a still picture that was taken, and this would be an example if someone wants to show their vacation photos and they won't have to worry about automatically picking the right zoom mode on the display or reaching for all the different remotes to try to resize everything. The display is getting that Media Director content flagged info and doing that automatically.
Yes. And so it's here, it's automatically sizing it, and because we're able to also communicate other information such as the color space that was used, the picture can be set up correctly. And you see here I'm changing content, and I'm not having to do anything other than basically change the channel.
Oh, okay, yeah, that we just saw the picture automatically resize based on the data.
Yes. Okay, so we get a the maximum utilization of the display, and again without any clipping. You can see that we.
Okay, so I can see on the original image on a regular TV, we've got black bars on all four sides, but here watching on this, we just have black bars on the sides. The top and bottom are appropriately zoomed in.
Yes. Another example is if we go down to, I've got some 3D content in here, and this is an example of 3D content over the air. And as you can see from our little display, we've got top over bottom, over under 3D. The TV knows automatically that that's what the content is, and it automatically switches into that mode.
Oh, so now we switch to side by side from top bottom.
And we're automatically telling the display, and again we're in 3D mode.
And that's a flag set via Media Director.
Via Media Director to because the set-top box is reading that metadata out of the transport stream with telling it whether it's 2D or 3D content and what format that 2D or 3D content is in. It's able to then transmit that on HDMI to the display, so that the display ends up in the right mode.
And it's important to note that we now switch from the Blu-ray player to the set-top box, so there's other Media Director enabled devices out there.
Yeah.
Any other partners that you're working with so far that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, just as a review, we've got Sharp with their Elite line of displays.
And again, this is just a prototype, though. This isn't
a
the one that they're
prototype.
shipping now.
Yeah, this will be. This is just a prototype. Look for this in 2012 as a Media Director enabled device.
Got it.
This is using the Silicon Image HDMI receiver chip. This is a very fancy AVR.
Definitely, the aluminum faceplate is fantastic.
It's just down to basics, and this is by Analog Devices, and they've announced a couple of their chips at the CEDIA show this week.
Got it. So anyone then going forward that OEMs using Analog Devices will be either Media Director enabled or be able to at least pass Media Director signals through to the display.
Yes. Then the box that we have here is the HD Dune, which is a media player, a general purpose media player. It plays off of Blu-ray, DVD, as well as streaming formats. And this is the first player that will be on the market with Media Director enabled. The chipset partner in this is Sigma Designs, and we also have a reference set-top box, and again, using Sigma Designs as their media processor.
Got it. So I'm assuming that we should see some actual manufacturers' announcements probably around CES then?
CES is is when to look for the major announcements of not only more chipset manufacturers, but also the end products. So seeing this in a box by, whoever.
Got it. And of course we can start building our Media Director library by purchasing Star Wars on Blu-ray.
Yes. And then as 2012, as we work through the year, more and more of the disc will be released with Media Director on them. And by the end of next year, we expect that the majority of Blu-ray discs that you buy will have Media Director on them.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Appreciate it. We look forward to hearing more about Media Director from CES and in the next couple of months.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.